Brenda.
And I'm Kristi. We're two friends from high school who are connecting and reconnecting over music and memories.
Welcome to Normal Bias Podcast.
We're glad you're here.
Have you hit record? Because I don't see it.
It's recording. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Hi, y'all.
Hi.
Welcome to Normal Bias Podcast. It's Brenda from Houston and Kristi and Brenda.
Hey, you know what?
I am okay if I've never seen or read a Harry Potter. There.
Have you really not?
Ever.
Have your boys?
No. One of them, I don't know which one, read maybe the first book part of it. Oh, wow. Here we go. Uh-oh.
Seriously, you just sent me spiraling. That's fascinating.
If you don't, we have to watch these on YouTube because Kristi's face, oh, wow. When she knows that I've seen every Tiger King episode, but I've never seen or read a Harry Potter, oh, wow.
No, and that's just me being judgy, but the stuff that we think is normal. So when people tell me, if I meet a guy our age who's never watched a Star Wars movie, I'm like,
what's the matter with you?
Did your parents not love you? I mean, were you what was are you okay with your childhood? Do we need to have some therapy?
Okay.
Oh my God. Seriously.
Okay.
Tell me you haven't seen Star Wars.
No, I actually have. And only I right. So our next Orange You Glad should be what's that? An unpopular opinions. I've never seen Twilights or read those. I didn't read those. There's a lot of those things unpopular. What's popular to you is just not that. It's not. I can tell you the actors in Harry Potter. And I can tell you, I love Daniel Radcliffe, and I've seen other things he's in. Emma Watson, love that girl. But just wizards and Waverly Place and warlocks and
Waverly Disney. Nothing, not at all the same thing. But that's
and magical wands and broomsticks and baubles and
you're still the coolest person I know. You're the coolest person I know. But you could just maybe not mention that to Noble. That'd be great.
Noble.
Oh, no, hold on just a second. Hey, Noble. Come here for a second, buddy.
You just said don't tell him, and now I'm going to tell him?
You tell him on TV or YouTube TV.
Okay. I do want to see the look on his face. But, so yeah, I do know Star Wars, though.
Hey, Noble, are you okay with being on screen in our podcast for just a minute? I need to tell you something huge.
But what did you say a while ago that you've never seen?
Oh, Tiger King, Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah, Tiger King. Noble.
Ma'am?
Your mom wants me to tell you something, and I don't know if I want to tell you. You might want to sit down, or maybe you won't even care, but I just told her that I've never seen or read Harry Potter ever.
Okay. What'd you say, Biddy? It's yelling from the room. That needs to change. So I
love you, Noble. I love you that you love me just the way I am. And that your life is not phased and you didn't judge me like your mom did.
I totally judged you.
Harry Potter is not really one of those things that there's some people who think it's important, but it's not really that important. It's just.
Wait, are you telling me we wasted $5,000 on that vacation?
No.
Okay, here's the thing about Harry Potter, though, is this is how I feel. I feel like an outsider. There are way more Harry Potter fans than there are non-Harry Potter fans.
I mean, if you don't want to read or watch any of the movies, we'll just take 3 hours explaining everything.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Before, right at the beginning of the pandemic, what was that thing we saw that it was Harry Potter in so many minutes. Remember that? It was a stage show.
No.
But we didn't get to see it because of the
pandemic.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you. Hey, Noble. I'll see you next weekend. All right, Kayci. So remember on our Mom Mia Mother's Day episode when I talked the boys made fun of me for being the slowest reader ever. Can
When
you
you're not slower than me,
imagine?
run. I tell you that.
There's like what, 1,000,000 pages combined of all the Harry Potter books. Can you? I would never finish reading those books. Mm-mm. Come on, let's be real.
Hold on just a second. I'm gonna make you feel better about yourself. Hey, Kayci, your turn.
Oh, where is I'm in a Harry Potter wormhole, y'all. I can't get out. I should have never told you that. I thought everyone knew this.
I didn't know that about you. Hey,
Mhm.
Benny, are you okay with being on film?
Yeah.
Okay, come here.
What's up, Kayci, Clara?
We're-
Girl, your hair gets longer every time I see you.
I'm gonna get it cut this week. I'm sorry.
Miss Mary on Wednesday. So, but I really don't think she's gonna cut that much off. Okay.
Okay.
So, Heather,
Yes.
So
like True Confessions, and she just
this is
reminded
my
me back
confession.
at Mama Mia when her boys were picking on her for being the slowest reader ever, and I told her I don't think that's true. Who is the slowest reader ever?
Daddy. My dad.
So in every I can't think right off the top of my head some of the jokes that you guys have made about
Challenge accepted, James.
Oh, it's just like random off the top of the head things because like he's still reading Little House on the Prairie. Well, he likes like Little House on the Prairie, and he read a book from like the 1800s, like literal old books that are falling apart in your hand. Like that's what he chooses to read. No
Okay.
wonder he's forever.
Well, and here's the thing is there's a TV show called Little House on the Prairie. Why is he reading the books?
We won't watch the show
Right.
with him.
He literally bought the entire, I think he bought the entire show or
I
like
think
the
so.
entire first season or something. And that's kind of a running joke in our family because if we watch something at night or something, he'll always say, oh, do you want to watch Little House on the Prairie? And for a little while we did, but then we were not about that. Like that's something you do at school, like on a free day or something. Like I watched that in 3rd grade when we had like a substitute, but I'm not going to watch that for fun. And so
Or read the
show.
book.
Well, we went to some place in Kansas and saw one of the houses.
Yeah, you can go to like
Independence.
some of the you can go to some like the actual places where they lived. And we went to one of them in Kansas. How long ago was that, you think?
These are real people?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Wild was real?
Yeah, it's real. It's a real thing. Yep. Wow, so many things out today.
Kristi, you were like,
Are you joking me right now? Are you kidding?
am I still invited to your house?
Yes, but like seriously,
I promise.
She hasn't read or watched a single Harry Potter.
We can.
Okay, but I have seen every single episode of the House and the Prairie, even when Ellie became like a grown-up and it was just weird. I've seen them all. My dad loved that show. We watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
But see, I don't think the Harry Potter thing is bad. That's just like really not taste.
Well, and some people choose not to. Like a lot of our like church, like more conservative friends at church have not allowed them in their homes or their.
I truly appreciate the understanding of that because, and it's for me, it's just not my genre. It's not my type of like fantasy. Is not my thing, and I feel like I'm a very like I can't explain how I learn stuff, but for me, there's so much going on in that I can't I can't say that word.
Compartment.
Yes, like I feel like I have to like organize the characters and who belongs to who and what's a muggle and what's a this and that. Like there's I know that word, see, because
Yeah, look at you.
I work at an elementary school. I know enough about Harry Potter to get me, to be okay.
What is that?
But
like no, you pass. You know enough to pass.
Yes.
What is that? What is the word? Like when you're like faking it and you know enough to like get by.
Coast.
I don't know.
Yes, I'm definitely coasting, but I feel like I feel overwhelmed and there's just too much for me to understand, comprehend, and organize so that I get it or like it. I don't know if that makes sense,
There's a lot of stuff packed because it's 7 books and 8 movies, and there's a lot of information packed in there. But I will tell you, like I read all the books when I was in 5th grade, and like Noble read them literally when he was in kindergarten. So what I loved about it, because I'm not a big fan of like the fantasy or like the sci-fi or the magic or anything like that, but I love, like, if you want to be like sucked into character relationships and like the way that they all, because you're watching them grow up, and so you really like, I'm kind of glad, like my cousins, for example, they read the books as they came out, so it's like every year you waited for the next book, and like they were growing up with the characters. I didn't have that. I just had them, and I went and got them from the library. So, but like the way she writes the books and the way that all the characters work together, like the magic part is just there, and that it's cool, it's interesting. But what I love is like the people side of it, and that's, I don't think that always comes across in the movies. Like you have to read the books for that. And like it's crazy, like also to think about how she literally built like this entire world from scratch, like with her words, and now it's just a thing. Like everyone knows what Harry Potter is.
It is, and it's generational, because I mean, I guess when it first came out, I don't know, I guess you and Alex were little maybe when it first came out.
She was born right after I think either right before or right after the fourth book came out, because I quit.
Oh, wow.
We were that same way with Ronnie and his girls. We would read them.
Okay.
Yeah, I quit reading when I had you.
I think the third movie came out in 2004.
Okay.
So that's like, so then the books would have been a few years before.
I didn't realize they were that old, but here's what I do love is that I recognized how many readers became readers because of those books, and how many people actually, I mean, like relate to the books. And I really have envy. Like, I think this is a whole new episode right here, this whole Harry Potter. Okay. Just going to say that. And I always love your insight, Kayci. But so I do love that she created readers, and that people like, you know, found pieces of themselves in these books. And I do feel like envy that that didn't happen for me. But and I also love that she's a woman writer, and it always fascinates me like how this like whole world was in her brain, in her head, and it just like came out, and it's like this whole huge thing. And I also love her story, her personal story of being a single parent and literally having nothing but these words and this world in her brain, and this entire empire that has come out of it. And that part of it's very inspiring also. But it truly, you know, like in the elementary school, and then seeing you guys grow up with it, or just like kid after kid, like grade after grade after grade, like it just goes on and on forever. Like people love Harry Potter, and I do love.
Did your boys ever do the Harry Potter stuff?
They didn't, and you know, and I don't think that I had any, like, you know, I've obviously, you know, like any parent would encourage reading and offered it to them, and I can't remember which one of them read the first one, and then after that they they didn't read another. And I don't know, I think also they just weren't into that fantasy, or, you know, they just didn't connect to it, or whatever their reason, because they did have you know, books that they liked that they read, you know, like they did the Hunger Games, and they did
that's our unpopular opinion,
okay,
because I have a very unpopular opinion, and I don't like the Hunger Games. I think that they're very overrated.
We can stop right there. You're good.
Yeah.
Kayci
okay.
Hunger Games.
Yeah.
I love books.
I did, and then there was Alex liked, there was I want to say it was Charlie Bone or Charlie.
Yeah, I read some of those.
Yeah, so he had like 10 books, and he read all of those, and so there was things that they liked to read, but Harry Potter just wasn't one of them.
Yeah. See, and I'm not big. I think it's so funny that I loved Harry Potter as much as I did, because I'm not a series reader. I think I used to be, but I'm not. Like, that's why, like, I never could do like Divergent or the Hunger Games.
I liked Divergent.
Yeah, I just want to pick up one book and read it. But with Harry Potter, it was almost like, because there were so many books, like you knew that you had so many books following that it's just this ginormous story. And for some reason, like that's probably the one series like in my entire life that I've read and loved, because I don't like reading series. I would rather just read one book.
I think aside from it being a fantasy and magical and all the just truly overwhelming for me to even comprehend all the things that I had to understand was the number of pages each book is. Because I am such a slow reader, it just was like, I am never gonna finish this book. And then when I do, oh gosh, there's like 8,000 more pages after that. So as
Yeah.
a
Well, like, I got to the point where, like, when I was in 5th grade, like, several times when it was, like, punishment for me was getting my Harry Potter book taken away. Like, legitimately. And there were weekends when we would literally just read the entire weekend because she was one book ahead of me usually. And so she literally read The Order of the Phoenix, which is the 5th book, and she read that in an entire day. And it's, keep in mind, it's this thick, and she read it in an entire day. And so that's why, like, even if you're a slow reader, like, it's doable. Like, she's a super fast reader, but if she can do it in one day, like, I read the entire series in 3 months as a 5th grader. And so I'm not saying, oh, you need to go read it, because I feel the same way about, like, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Like, people that we know, they're all into it. And I tried so hard. I watched all the movies. I tried to read The Hobbit. I just can't do it. It's not my thing. But yeah.
Little men with hairy feet. Oh.
I just don't understand the appeal of
I
that.
thought you were like little men. I was like,
No. Like, aren't hobbits like little men and have hairy feet? Like, also, again, Elijah Wood and Sean Astin. I know the people in the movie.
Yeah.
And I think they're cute with their feet and hairy and blah, living in woods and stuff. I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. The way you feel about Harry Potter, that's how I feel about Lord of the Rings. So, I think we have that in common. But
I definitely think everyone has their thing. And it is just very curious to me that truly we could go into a mall and poll thousands of people, and I guarantee there'd be 995 people who have read and seen Harry Potter and 5 who have not. And
I ask you, what is your Harry Potter? Like, I don't know if you've read, like, another big series like that, or, like, because you know how Harry Potter is such a big, hold on, we're having a chair issue. I keep kneeling on the ground.
her knees are killing her.
So, like, if everyone has read Harry Potter and everybody loves Harry Potter, but you haven't, what would you say that your Harry Potter is?
gosh, that is like a great question, because I don't know that I've ever read a series like, I mean, like, I don't know what that would be as far as books go. Like, I typically will read a book because it sounds good, or not necessarily because everyone's reading it or it's on Oprah's book list or it's popular, you know? Like, I guess as a kid, I read Nancy Drew. I liked Encyclopedia Brown. Every Judy Blume book, every Beverly Cleary book ever written, I read. But as far as an adult, I don't know. I read Anne Rule books, but I think I read those because Jennifer read them, like true crime stuff.
True crime.
Never anything like, you know, like a series like that I'd say like was Harry Potter. I did read there's 3 Hunger Games books. I read 2 of them, not all 3 of them.
Well, I don't know if there is anything like to the magnitude of Harry Potter, but I would say like the Hunger Games, like that's something that like you could go and ask anybody on the street and at least they've heard of the Hunger Games. Most likely read the books or watched the movies or something. But I'm curious because I do have some friends who have never read Harry Potter, but then some of my friends, like, we all read Harry Potter at the same time. And so even in high school, it's interesting because, you know, like when I was so invested in Harry Potter for a solid like 3-4 months, and then we went to Universal Orlando and did that whole thing, and that's something else. Did y'all talk about that with Bill?
Yeah,
it was okay. It's not a big deal, and I was like, did we waste $5,000?
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was a huge deal.
It was such
a big deal. Tomorrow if we could. Actually, Emily Garcia texted me today, and this is someone I know, that Universal is like buy one get one tickets right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, and I've heard the same thing. Like some people, I'm not going to mention a name. Somebody's going to Disney because tickets are so cheap right now.
Wow.
And like flights are like $20. Like they're going for a fraction of the price of one day. So
that's amazing. So another series, Kayci, that I mentioned to your mom earlier was very popular, wildly popular, was the Twilight series. And I never got into those. And I don't, again, to me, I mean, I don't guess it's fantasy, but it's vampires with, and I like glitter. I think they shined like glitter or something. But
Vampires. Clearly.
I
That's
remember
me.
my friend Kelly, Kristi, Kelly Morgan Gore. That girl was all about some, is it Edward? Is that the guy's name?
Mhm.
Loved Twilight. And then like my neighbor gave me all of the books. Those are very thick also.
Mhm.
Okay, so funny story about the Twilight books. My sister-in-law, Penny, she was a librarian. She's one of those people who is effortlessly cool. She's like you. She researches everything. She knows everything. So she's always like ahead of the book for years. It's always been this way. She's always like one step ahead of what everybody's about to read. So one year, she gave my mom Twilight the year it came out and was like, this is going to be the next big thing. And so we took it on vacation. And it was that year that we did the Ozarks when Grandpa got sick. And Penny had given it to my mom. I guess, anyway, we ended up leaving it on the dresser of the condo that we stayed in because she tried to read it and she was like, I don't know. And I tried to read it and I was like, oh my gosh, this dialogue is horrible. So we left it there. And then later, James and I, like we already lived in Brenham in the little greenhouse, and he and I watched the first Twilight movie, and I was like, well, that was okay. I'm not going to go back and read, because normally I would watch the movie and then go back and read the book. So I haven't read the books, but I have seen the movies, and y'all are not missing anything. You're okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's true. Like I've always, and I don't know if I'll just use Kayci's word, coasting. I've always been fascinated with why they're popular, or I want to know. I try to find out why they're popular. Like okay, Robert. I mean, again, I knew all the. I mean, Shark Boy's in it, whatever his name is. Like the actors and the, and the concepts but I'm okay not being in on it, but it's fun to know why something like that just takes off. It's crazy.
So for me, I am not a follower. Like the example I use, when I was in 6th grade, white Converse were the big thing. Like that was the year of the white Converse, and everyone had white Converse. And then the next year it was white high top Converse. And I never got a pair of white high top Converse because like I didn't want to just do what everyone else was doing, because literally everyone had a pair of white Converse, and I didn't want to be like everybody else. And that's just how I am. So things like Twilight, like if everyone's reading it, that makes me want to not read it even more. Like I would want to stand out, because I don't know, that's just I don't know.
You don't want to tell you what to do.
Right.
So okay, normal biasers. Okay, this episode is I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion, or so we're talking about things that, like, we started off with Harry Potter, and so we're talking about things with Kristi and Kayci about things that are wildly popular that most people do, and then like, are you in it? Or what Kayci just said describes how I feel about these things also, that I haven't really mentioned. Because I relate to what you just said so much. Like wearing, I've worn Converse forever, but as soon as it gets popular, or as soon as like everyone is doing it, I'm not interested any longer. Here's my example. My adult example to this is, I can't even think of her name. The earrings, everyone, Kendra
Scott.
Kendra Scott.
That's a great example.
Okay, Kendra Scott, and I can't even tell you how many years ago when she came out. I was an adult. Everyone and their grandma and their 12-year-old niece and their church everyone had a pair of Kendra Scott earrings. They looked the exact same. They might be this different color. Oh, and then they got the new style with, they look like a hoop, but they're not a hoop. Everyone had a pair. I did not. And I was okay with that. I did receive a pair for my birthday, but it was like years after, and I got a burnt orange color. And it was from this girl who I really admire, and who we're friends, but it really meant a lot to me that she thought of me on my 45th birthday and she got me a gift card for them, and I did go buy some, and I love them, and I wear them. But at the time I was like, what is the matter with you people? It was like Stepford Wives. It's like everyone has them. I was like, it made me ill. Like, ew.
I feel, yeah. That was another thing when I was in junior high. Kendra Scott was the
How many
thing.
pairs do we have?
None. Yeah,
Yes.
and the teachers at my school in junior high, before we had like any school dances or anything, she would bring all of her Kendra Scott up to the school and like loan it out to girls and have like a log of who took what.
That
And
is so sweet.
it's so sweet, but I was like, A, sharing earrings, no, gross. But B, why would I want some Kendra Scott? No, thank you.
You know what else? They cost like $50 a pair, and these people had like 10 pair, every color, and again, they all
And the matching necklaces.
and the matching necklaces, and they're all the same like shape. Okay, I was like, what?
Sorry.
Why? I look. I still have, when we first started this podcast, my $2.50 Walmart leopard earrings that go with everything that I still get compliments on that I would wear instead of Kendra Scott. Oh,
Quit saying her name.
be different.
Be you. Isn't that your message?
Be you. Like,
Settle down, Brenda, for your friend.
just be you. Like, if you really like it, that's cool. But are you just doing it because you want to be like everyone else? Because if you do, it gets just boring. And it's kind of,
Oh no, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, it to me, it something like in Harry Potter's different, and this is, I mean, earrings, it's mostly girls, and it just scares me a little bit that somebody wants to, I don't know, that so many people want to have that. You know what I mean? And it's really not. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if you have a Kendra Scott earring or not. And I think I do remember getting like there's this store called Sam Moon. Have y'all ever been to Sam Moon?
Yeah.
Well, I did end up buying like a pair of like knockoffs, some dupes there for like $3. And I think people thought that they were real. And I only got them because they were like it was a different color than the other ones. But again, it wasn't like around the time they were popular. But anyway, yeah.
This one time.
This one time. But, back to Cyndi Lauper, too. I said in like the first or second episode of Normal Bias she was the first person that I felt like looked on the outside how I felt on the inside. She was so different. She just was out there, did her thing. And I've always not so much followed I like just to be different. I don't want to look like everyone else.
Yeah, and the way I look at it is, like, at least for me, and I feel like this could relate to you too, but because I'm so not go with the flow in terms of what's popular or like what's trending right now, like if there's something that I'm really interested in, I really lean into it, but that doesn't mean that it's because it's popular, it's because it means that I like that. And so like the way I dress is not like the way that a bunch of teenagers dress. Like there are so many things that apply to me that people my age don't do, but I do it because I like it. And like, I don't know, even just down to the way that like I live my life. It's not popular, but you see other people doing some things. Like we were having this conversation yesterday about some of the things that other teenagers do and what you see on the outside. But that's another example of I'm not just going to lean into the crowd and do what they're doing because it's cool and because we're teenagers and we only live once. Like I'm going to do what I know is right, not because I want to be rebellious and like go the other way, but just because that's not right for me,
Mm-hmm.
So
this doesn't feel good,
right.
But I this really fascinates me what we've started talking about, because I think a lot of the whole like being you stuff that I've been talking about lately, because we get to be the age that me and Kristi are, where it finally feels like it's okay to not care what people say. You know, if people like, if Kristi judges me for not for watching Tiger King and not liking Harry Potter, like it makes me laugh, but I'm like, well, that's
your
just
opinion.
me, right? And so like being 16, 17, 18, leaning into what's popular, like what, and Kristi, you know, weigh in on this. Also, like, is it because, like, why do people do that? Like, why do all the people want the white Converse? Why do all the people want the Kinder Scott earrings? To be included, to be liked, to be loved? And then is it because they don't feel confident enough to, like Kayci, do what feels best for her? Or you know, like, is it so much, like, do we do that so much just to be loved and accepted by those people? And because it takes away from you.
Well,
And I mean, if you really want the white Converse, that's fine, get the white Converse. If you really think the Kindras are cool, get the Kindras if you can afford it even. But it's just curious to me that at that time when Kindra's out and everyone has it, do you really want it, or is it you really just want to be looked at because you have it?
Right. Well, and for me, like where like right now in 2020, this is like the era of aesthetics, and everyone has an aesthetic. And like TikTok, I think contributes to that. That's like a big thing right now. Like, you know, like when it was the Visco girl stuff last year, and now like there's a certain aesthetic that I'm seeing a lot of my friends and a lot of people my age kind of jump on, because if you fit within this box, then it's, oh, this is this aesthetic, and oh, people love this, so I'm gonna dress like this. And it's not, I can't think of any particular like exact trends that fit within that, but there's a certain look. And I think that it's just, I don't know, what would you say? Like I don't know, just
I think it's like everything else. I think there's a lot of things to it. I think, you know, you've touched on so many things. Like think about the people who, you know, will go without something so they can have one pair of earrings that everybody's wearing, one pair of shoes. Because so, and then think about the people that have all of the colors of Converse and all of the colors of the earrings and stuff. And so if you think about like those earrings or those shoes as representing happiness and acceptance, then if I like, when I get that, then I'll be happy. When I get that, then I'll fit in. When I get that, then I'll fill in the blank. And if I, you know, if I'm coming from a place of scarcity, like there's not enough to go around, then I'm going to get all of them that I can. So I have the most happiness. I have the most acceptance. I'm this. Like there's so many things to that. And it's stuff that I fell into as a young person. Kayci hasn't, but I did. And we are raising 2 kids, the exact same home, same room, different experiences with them. One of them this year only wanted a certain kind of pair of shoes, That's all all and we've not really experienced it. Kayci's had some things, you know, she was a justice girl for quite a while.
Yeah, that was.
Well, I blame myself for that, from raising her in children's places, but she always had all of things. And so then when she was old enough to pick for herself, you know, anyway, but there's so much to that. And as adults, like think about people who live in neighborhoods who trade in their car because someone says that this kind of car is the cool car, or someone says that, you know, this is the kind of house that says you've arrived. Like people will live in a perfectly nice neighborhood and trade that house for a slightly larger, slightly smaller house, depending on what's cool in the next neighborhood over, just because their friends said to move there. And we see it as adults, like we, you know.
And not to say, like, you know, when I was in 5th grade, Vans. Well, I mean, Vans started in 1976, and I always remember that because my sister was born that year. But when Vans were very popular in 5th grade, and I fell in love with the Vans, and here's why. Because I liked the checkered pattern mixed with colors, and that was so cool. And of course, you know, several friends were getting them, and I did want a pair of those, but I wanted to have the colors no one else had. But I did. And once I had a pair of Vans, like I've had a pair of Vans probably every year of my life since. And I did want Guess jeans and Guess overalls. Those were popular at the time. Although, again, it wasn't so much for me. It wasn't because it was popular. It was more like I liked the style of the jean, or I thought the overalls were cool. I mean, and once I got something like that, I always tried to make it, me or different, or I'd put it with something, different. I don't know, but it wasn't necessarily because it was popular. But yeah, those are two things I can probably think of that, at the time it was very popular. I went with it. And then I remember getting a pair of Guess overalls and then realizing how much a pair of them cost. $100 exactly at Foley's, or I guess the Dillard equivalent for you, Kayci, if you don't know what Foley's is. Dillard's is kind of like that. And then after that, when I realized how much it costs, then I started clearance shopping, and that's when I started thrift shopping. And what I enjoyed so much about thrift shopping was finding things that no one else had. And because that was not the only way I could be different, but it was cool because no one else had this because it was secondhand, you couldn't find it. And then when people would be like, that's really cute, where'd you get it? And I'm like, you can't find it. I got it at Goodwill. And I mean, I even still do that now, like at work. I'm like, oh, where'd you get that? And I'm like, at the Goodwill.
Yeah, that reminds me. So we had a winter formal at my school last year, and I was at Goodwill. I was at the point where, like, I picked up 2 kids from school and then took them home, and then once a week we would go to Goodwill after school and, like, go to Sonic and get a drink and then go to Goodwill and walk around. And we were there one day and we were checking out, and they had a random rack, like, next to the checkout. And I saw this, like, just like this pop of color. And of course, I was drawn to it. And so we got out of line and I went and looked at it and I pulled it out. And it was a Kate Spade dress. And it was beautiful. And it had all like the classic Kate Spade colors, and it was like stripes and stuff. And then I looked at the price tag. It still had the $400 price tag on it, never been worn. And so I bought this Kate Spade brand new dress for $8. And
shut your mouth.
It's still my favorite Goodwill find to this day. And I'll show you a picture of what it looked like later. But and then it came time for winter formal, and everyone was going to all the prom stores, and everyone was going to these like super fancy, like bedazzled, you know what I'm talking about, like the prom, like out there, like a little short, a little skimpy in the front. But I wore my $8 Kate Spade Goodwill dress to winter formal, and that's a whole other story because I didn't even attend the dance. I sold tickets with all the moms out front, and
that's my girl.
Yeah. And I had the flu that day and didn't even realize it. So that's just a wild story. But like, instead of going to the prom store and getting this $500 dress that I was going to wear once for half an hour, I wore my $8 Kate Spade dress and loved it. And that was,
I bet you looked so cute, I bet, and got compliments, and look at that.
Yeah, I was super sick, so I wasn't feeling great that night, but I felt good about my dress. So, yeah.
$8 Kate Spade.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is since you're here, will you do an Orange You Found with us to wrap this episode up?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, you guys.
We're going to talk about the Goodwill all day long.
Yes.
Hold on. Before we stop, I'm going to go the dress in the closet. I'll be like.
Okay, get that so we can see this on YouTube. You guys, I just love this. I love Normal Bites podcast. I love the Ferrones. I cannot wait to see y'all this weekend.
We're excited.
Yes, but just you see so many things that we just have to talk about, and I just feel like at the end, oh my gosh.
Tell them.
Yeah.
So the kids that she took home last year, they're Noble's best friends. They're his age. And what did they say when they saw that dress?
Oh, I forget.
That's your personality.
They said that's your personality in a dress.
And
it's crazy.
Like,
it is. No one else would have bought
100%. That just screams Kayci.
Right? Yeah. So I just thought it was fun.
And I can't believe, okay,
Kate
was
Spade.
that's not the Goodwill in Brenham?
Mhm.
Okay,
We'll
I
have
need
to go next weekend. We have a really good
yeah,
list.
okay, I have to visit this number one. But
Yeah.
number two is like, it still had the price tag on it. Okay, Normal Bias podcast listeners, somewhat, and real OCD people, someone bought that dress, Kate Spade, $400, and it ended up at the Goodwill in Brenham, Texas. Kayci paid $8 for it. It doesn't matter, stuff and spending $400 because it says Kate Spade, that doesn't equal happiness. That obviously didn't fill the hole for this person, or maybe they changed their mind. It ended up at the Goodwill. And
% off.
yes.
Yeah.
That's math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like crazy to me. I saw that and like my eyes popped out of the socket. I was like, what in the world? But it's awesome because now I have the story for the dress, and it's this awesome dress that I've worn twice now. I wore it to wedding too. But I'm more than on that $8 worth.
Yes, you did. It is a timeless classic piece. And look, one man's, I mean, it's not trash. I mean, it's a treasure, truly.
Yeah.
But stuff like this just fascinates me, like where we can go from here to there. But, just be yourself. Like when you bought that dress, why were you buying it? And I mean, I think it was made for you. Obviously, it was supposed to happen that way.
Yeah.
And it just, what a great story. But I want to know the person who bought that dress and how it got there, and all the whys. There I go. I'm gonna go in this wormhole. Oh my gosh, tell me all about this dress.
You can start your own thrift store, and then whenever you buy the piece, you like hand a piece of paper and like, okay, this is the story.
I want the story behind the. I mean, I love this. I love that the dress continues to have a story, because with your story you told, but like, there's something there with that dress.
And I turned around and sold it for $200, maybe even $300. But like, because people would buy that, like it literally still has a title on it.
Absolutely, because God rest her soul, Kate Spade, that's another series, that's another episode, that's another story of a person who, it's a tragic, and her, she was a hurting person who made beautiful things, was so creative, and anyway, that I can't, but there is, you guys, there, you have a story, there is a story in you, about you, brewing inside, just like that people need to know, because you just never know. Like, how many things have we talked about today? And at the end,
a lot.
Yes, I know, but at the end of it all is, if you stay true to you, and if you can, like, I confessed some of the things that I was feeling guilty about or doing, but but then I could admit, that I didn't watch Harry Potter, and I'm okay with that.
Well, and I would say, like, my reaction, she told me that, like, it was a joke, and I said, well, that needs to change. But it's okay, because the way I feel about Lord of the Rings and, like, Kendra Scott and the White Converse, I like shameful almost that I haven't partaken in that trend or whatever. And I don't think you need to feel any sort of envy or shame or whatever for not, like, participating in Harry Potter, because if you don't want to do it, like,
it's not a good use of your time.
If you're not like, it's okay if you don't want to do that, and you can just, like, it's okay.
We had this conversation. We were walking out somewhere the other day, and Daddy had said, you need to watch whatever movie. And Kayci was like,
he said I needed. He was like, the next time there's a rainy day, we're gonna sit down and watch Casablanca. And I said, no, thank you. And I was not chill about it. I was like, that doesn't sound fun to me. Thank you. And he still says the same thing with Gone with the Wind. I'm sure at some point in my life I'll watch it because they're classics, but I'm good right now.
Really, my dear James, I just don't. I have not watched Casablanca, and I'm okay if I never watch it. I did watch Gone with the Wind, and she's precious, and I like saying her lines and whatever because she's just a fun character. But I'm okay if I would have been okay if I had never seen it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know? And I just want to say really quickly too, if you are that person who was in on the Kendra Scott trend, if those things appealed to you and you're part of it, that's okay too. My thing is I just want to make sure that you didn't do it just because you felt like you had to or you needed to, because it would be okay if you didn't. But if you did it, it's cool. It really is.
Like if you were like
I'm not shaming anyone for trending.
so like if you were quarantined in like a little bubble with no social media, nobody else, like how would you be dressing? And I think about things like this sometimes, like if there was no influence whatsoever around me, how would I dress? What would I do? Like if there was no outside influence, I wonder how different I would be.
Mm-hmm. Like how you would be influenced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was just thinking.
I'm not easily influenced, but there are for sure things. And I think that social media is such a huge thing, not just like fashion wise, but yeah. Well, and I have like, there are lists and thousands of things that I don't like that other people like movies. Like we could go down the list. Like just yesterday, I had a conversation with someone and he said, "Oh, I watched blank a few weeks ago, and it's one of my favorite movies." And I said,
she got a little salty.
"Yeah, I did." And I was like, no, that's not a good movie. Like, it's not. There's not anything good in it. Yes, it's considered a classic, but is it actually like a good movie? Like, would you want to sit there and watch it over and over again? And there are so many movies like that. Like in the past few years, as my parents have introduced me to some more movies, like a great example of that is Bring It On. Like that's such a classic movie, and you hear that quoted, but I don't like that movie. Like there are things like that, aside from the fashion trends, but like music, movies that everyone else likes, but I don't like. You know?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes just because you don't like them, and sometimes because like it's important for Kayci to see redeeming value in whatever it is. Like if she's going to put her time there or her money there, she wants to make sure that it like means something to her or is right in her eyes. And so you have a different decision making skill set than a lot of people do. Like you approach life I wish that I had whatever that is that you have that's like, no, I'm good. Like I don't need that. So okay, so I'm gonna cut y'all off because Brenda has laundry to do and we just went another hour.
I know, what the heck?
So I'm gonna cut us off and I'm gonna say Orange You Glad and I'm gonna start.
Wormholes.
My Orange You Glad is I'm glad that you are who you are. And like so we're on day Kayci and Noble have completed 4 days of school. And in that 4 days of school, 0 times have I said, did you get this done? Are you on time? Is anything late? Like she's got it. Like, and I'm not saying you're perfect because you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You can, but she's driven and I'm glad that school is not something that we have to argue about. So thank you for being.
Yeah.
Yes, that is big. That's a lot of. That's just something you don't have to. That's something off your chest.
Yeah, for one of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're talking, and it's like, are you talking about both kids?
Talking about you specifically. Yeah. I'm glad that you are the student you are. So, Brenda, what's your Orange You Glad today?
Orange I glad that I can confess things like not watching or reading Harry Potter, and and be okay with that, and be confident that even though you were judgy a little bit, that you still love me, and that I can just be myself. Oh, thank goodness. Yeah. Popular, unpopular.
Don't care.
Yeah, mine's kind of along the same lines. I'm glad that, or do I say orange?
You can say whatever you want. It's yours.
I'm glad that that everyone can like what they like, and I don't have to like the Hunger Games, and you can, and that we don't have to fit within a certain box, and that we can have our own style and our own likes and dislikes, and yeah, we might judge other people a little bit. We probably shouldn't, but we can still,
As long as it's all in good fun.
yes.
As long as it's in good fun. Yes. Yes. And Orange You Glad was born because of your idea.
I know, I'm very.
So when you just said, do I have to say that? And I'm like, well, you gave us
I
I know you did.
Like, I didn't know if it was Orange You Glad blank or Orange I Glad blank, or I didn't know how to say it.
Right.
I'm totally not against saying Orange You Glad. I think it's clever.
Okay, good. Well, we love Orange and we love you. And I am so glad that, because, gratitude, we need it. And it's a reminder. And that's why we've tried to keep it up on Wednesdays, being glad.
Our internet skipped, and I think you just said gratitude, but what I heard was ratatouille, and I was like, did you hear that, or did you hear gratitude?
I heard gratitude.
Oh, I was like, what?
You do need
What?
gratitude.
I was like, ratatouille? Okay, Brenda, that's awesome.
I would not ever say ratatouille. Don't like rats. Never seen that movie either. So there you go.
You're okay.
Okay,
right.
good.
Here, so
Bye, Kayci. It's always such a pleasure.
yes, because we're gonna back up. We're gonna wrap up our previous 1 hour episode with a different Orange You Glad, sans the Kayci. So we'll leave the dress there as a teaser. Bye, Biddy.
Okay.
Have a good week.
Bye. Bye, Miss
Thank you.
Next week.
Bye.
But by the time this airs, it was, hey, bye, Miss Brenda. Had so much fun with you this weekend.
Hey, y'all. Are you still watching? Are you still listening? Oh, hey, Mom.
We're so glad that you're still with us. If you want to connect online, we're at www.normalbiaspodcast.com, or you can find us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. And our very favorite, if we made you a mixtape, we put all those songs on our Spotify playlist for you.
All the things.